All right, so who doesn't love a ranked list? I've seen several people do these recently, and just thought I'd go ahead and throw one on here of ranking the best programming languages that are out there. So, um, obviously, this is a very short list. If they were to take every programming language that's out there, that would take years to go through because there are literally thousands of programming languages that exist across the globe. So I just grabbed this one that has a bunch of the most common ones and thought I'd throw those out there. Just kind of give you my opinions on various things. And obviously, it's ranked from, Superior Plus to PHP because we all know that PHP is the absolute bottom of the list. It is the worst thing that has ever existed. And I say this as somebody who programmed PHP for several years. So let's go through just the rest of these and just kind of give you my opinions on a few things. So let's start with the classic C. C is your kind of one of those granddaddy languages that's been around forever. It's very much focused on um, very small, well, not necessarily small, but very efficient programs. It is very tight when it's done well, and it can be an absolute disaster if you don't do it well. But obviously, C is one of the classics. It's been around forever, so it's obviously a superior language. So the next one I want to look at here is Clojure. And I'm never sure if I'm pronouncing that one correctly. But this one's kind of one of those functioning languages. It's kind of similar to Lisp. Um, it's very much one of those languages that was created to try to make life easier for developers. There's a lot of those kinds of languages, but what it does very well. So obviously that one's also a superior language. Then there's COBOL. Is another one of those granddaddy languages that's been around forever. It's very much focused on mainframe programming, but it can be used in other places as well. And it's one of those things that just keeps going and going and going. Many big corporations, especially insurance companies, banks, and the like, still government still make heavy use of COBOL. And it's actually one of those things that there are new iterations that keep coming, and COBOL's not going away anytime soon. And in fact, if you want to be a very well-paid developer, learn Clojure, learn COBOL. So obviously, COBOL is one of those superior languages. And there's C++. It's one of those that was it's kind of an extension of C. Helps resolve some of those issues that C, the original language, have, but it's still very much in the same vein, very similar. So obviously, it's also superior. Then there's C sharp. C sharp is the one where I make, that's my bread and butter. It's the language I've used for most of my career. Um, and it's one of those languages that, it was created, obviously, to make life easier for developers. It works well. It continues to be developed. It's now very much open source for the most part. So it's one of those that the community has had a great deal of involvement in. It's well supported. It's great for pretty much anything, and it's one of those languages now. With all the most recent updates, C sharp can be used anywhere, front end, back end, anything. So obviously C sharp is one of the superior languages. And then there is Dart. Sorry, I almost forgot what that one was. It's one of those. It's one of those that was made to be efficient, simple, very straightforward, um, very approachable for that's one of the keywords that they use a lot with it is approachable. It's made to be really easy to get started and to work with. So it's great for new developers. So it's one of those superior languages. Um, you know, uh, Fortran is another one that's been around forever. It was tied very much to mainframes. Also, it was one of those early database languages, working with big blocks of data. Of course, at the time, big blocks of data, was a megabyte. Um, but it's one of those it's still around. It still works. It's still very much used. So obviously, it's superior. And then there's F Sharp, which is kind of a one of the spin-offs of C Sharp and Java, and one of those that's kind of it has its niche and it works really well. It's great for functional development. So it's superior. There's Haskell. Haskell is another one that's kind of a general purpose. It's a functional language. It's very much focused on that functional approach to development. Um, so it's obviously superior. Java is one of those that you either love it or you hate it. Um, it's one of those that I personally have a hate relationship with Java. I've never liked it. It was originally intended to be one of those languages that could be used anywhere on any platform, and it doesn't do anything well as far as I've ever been able to work with. Um, and I've had some experience with it over the years, off and on. So it's great for what it does. So we'll call that one superior, not superior plus. JavaScript is the universal programming language of the web. It has been around since the very earliest days of the web almost. It was the first programming language that you could use in your browser, pretty much, and to do things with, to make your web pages come alive and do things. It's great. It has still to this day has a lot of issues, but it's superior. Then there's Kotlin. It's another one of those cross-platform languages. It's very general purpose. It's a very high-level language. Like Java, like C Sharp, like a lot of them. Um, and it's one of those that does pretty well. And, it's good for what it does, and so obviously it's superior. And there's Lua. Um, it's another one that's a lightweight one. It's tend to be uh, very easy to get started with. Um, it's kind of one of those kind of add-on languages that was there to make good things even better. Um, and it works really well. It's great for what it does, and obviously it's superior. Objective C. If you're an Apple developer, um, it's there. It works. Yeah, it's superior. And let's skip ahead and do Swift. It's the other Apple language for your iPhone devices or iOS stuff, and it's also superior. Um, and then there's OCaml. It's one of those languages kind of designed to be an extension of an existing language, in this case ML. So it's like C++ or C Sharp or any of the other ones that was created to be an enhancement to something that's already out there. And it's good. It's very well known for being a static type language. So obviously it's superior. Python, it's one of those great languages. Works well in a lot of environments on the web. It's used in a lot of web applications. It's kind of like uh, one of those two that's also found a second life as uh, a language for data analysis, along with R, which is the next one here. Those are both two languages which are very important in these days of machine learning and large language models and things like that, and processing uh, vast amounts of data and teaching your computer how to think for itself. Machine learning, AI, uh, but also analyzing vast amounts of data. So Python and R are both obviously superior languages for that kind of stuff. Ruby, it's one of those that was kind of there to try to make web development better, try to make web applications better. And it does pretty well. It's one of those things where some people really love it and others don't. And it was designed to make web apps much simpler to develop. And so obviously it's a superior language. Rust, it's another one that's very much like that as well. Um, it has its niche. It works well for what it does, and a lot of people love it. I've never used it, so I don't have any experience with that. So obviously, clearly, it's also a superior language. Scala is another one that's kind of sits in between the object-oriented languages and the functional languages. So it's kind of a, if you want to think of it as a mashup of like Java and C, or sorry, Java and F sharp. Um, I guess it's one way to look at it, but it kind of sits in that middle ground. Tries to do both of them, and it does both of them pretty well. It was designed to be an improvement over Java, to make Java more functional, um, and it has succeeded quite well in doing that. So obviously, it's one of those superior plus languages. TypeScript is one of those things where, again, JavaScript was viewed as a way to make JavaScript even better, to make it more efficient and more type safe, which was one of JavaScript's biggest failings is it's not type safe. But TypeScript lets you do that, and lets you do a lot of the stuff. Takes a lot of that C sharp uh, technicality, or ways of doing things, and bring that to the JavaScript environment. And it's really taken off. It's one of the most popular variants of JavaScript these days, and it's a lot of people really love it. So obviously, it's one of those superior plus languages. And then, of course, there's Visual Basic. It's been around forever. It found new life in the .NET platform, but it's been around much longer than .NET has. It's one of those things that it ran businesses for decades. It still runs businesses. I know many applications that still sit out there that run VB6. Um, it's one of those that it will never go away. It'll be there forever. It's not huge. It's not massive. It hasn't taken off like a lot of the languages like Java or C Sharp or JavaScript or any of that, but it's still there and it has its niche. So obviously it's a not quite superior plus, but we'll call it superior. So, like I say, there are many, many more languages, that I could put on there, but get the idea. And the point that I'm trying to make is this: is it really doesn't matter what language you use. Every language has its pluses, it has its minuses, has its place in the world of programming and computers. And it really doesn't matter what language you use, what language you use to learn. Uh, if you focus on the principles, if you focus on the core of things, then you could take what you learn in COBOL and you could apply it to any of these other languages. You could take what you learn in C Sharp and you can apply it to any other language. Um, that's the point of programming. That's the point of this career field, is that if you focus on the principles, you can apply that to anything, and any language can be superior. Any language can be fantastic. Any language can be perfect, almost. But they could also be disasters. It's all in the developer. It's not the language itself. It's the developer who is programming it. Obviously, with the exception of PHP. PHP is just horrible, and nobody should ever use it for anything. So there you have it. There's my rank list of some of the most popular languages out there. Thank you.